you have a phone, turn it on silent. This is a live podcast. Feel free to take pictures. Right now, the focus is on the panel. If someone says something that sparks interest, please make sure that you, ask the questions. The other piece is that when we begin, we're live. I just kind of want y'all to be a little bit hyped. I know y'all had a long day. I know. But I'm just going to need y'all to act out a little bit, okay? You don't mind? Just a little bit? Just a little bit. I appreciate you. The other piece, I am Carmen Mahon. I am the Citywide STEM Initiatives Manager for the Department of STEM. I did not bring my makeup bag, so there's something going on under these eyes. So I hope y'all like my glasses, because I think I'm fly. The other piece is that once we are done, feel free to get some more pizza and we're going to close it out. We don't want to keep you here all night, but this is the last day of Black History Month, but we celebrated 365/7. So I want to make sure, keep that energy for you all, because we're recording it and there is some traffic. Just talk louder like the teachers and the educators that you are. Okay? Even though the mic can hear you, I want to make sure that everyone else can. Sounds good? Yeah. Okay. So we got our phones, we got our energy. Okay, and I will monitor people who come in and just place those. Okay? All right, so I'm going to pass this mic. Don't you shake your head. To Scott Steward. He's going to introduce everyone and then let us know when we go live.
We are live.
Oh, well, we'll edit that. We'll. You gave me the look like, no, there's no editing. There's no editing. I pass the mic to you, Scott.
Not that one. That's your mic. Where's the other mic? Check. What's up, everybody? Hey, what's going on? So, like Carmen said, my name is Scott Stewart. I'm from the Wild Hunters, born and raised, 113th and Peoria. Here's my neighborhood. There's my neighborhood. What? My mom. On that block? Who your mom? We'll talk later. That's my neighborhood. So tonight's event is hosted by Phalanx Family Services. Let's give it up for Phalanx Family Services. They have the Sparks Initiative here with the Museum of Science and Industry. And in 2022, they created this STEM lab here in collaboration of organizations fostering STEM awareness throughout the city of Chicago. You all know what STEM is, correct? Anybody know what STEM is? Anybody in the audience? What's STEM? Absolutely. So shout out to Phalanx Family Services for hosting us here tonight. Thank you all. We are also sponsored tonight by the Department of STEM Citywide STEM Initiatives at Chicago Public Schools. It is the nucleus of tonight's STEM Untapped Live podcast. Tonight we will explore the rich contributions of Blacks, individuals in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, like you just said, highlighting untold stories and achievements. The discussion will delve into the intersection of Black history and STEM, fostering awareness and appreciation for those groundbreaking accomplishments that these panelists have made. Tonight's podcast is also sponsored by Genius Lab, where I am the founder and CEO, a company dedicated to preparing youth for careers in business and technology by teaching entrepreneurship and computer coding skills. Another sponsor, Planet.ai, an artificial intelligence business plan development software designed to help entrepreneurs and business owners create profitable and scalable business plans in minutes, not months. And then finally, our last sponsor, Soundtrap. It's the nonprofit entity of Spotify, which is a digital music podcast and video service that gives you access to millions of songs and other content from creators all over the world. This live broadcast will live on this platform for educational purposes only. Let's give it up to our sponsors tonight, y'all. So, let's first meet the panelists, shall we? First up, Dr. Kelly Easterly. Wave to the people, Dr. Kelly. Oh, Dr. Kelly Easterly. Kelly Easterly is the Executive Director of the Department of STEM for Chicago Public Schools. In her role, she is responsible for leading strategic planning and execution of strategies to support a district-wide vision for pre-K through 12 mathematics, science, computer science, and whole school integrated STEM and STEAM programming that results in student learning experiences that leads to advanced STEM literacies among student populations. Prior to her position, Kelly served students in Chicago Public Schools as an assistant principal, program manager for STEM schools, instructional effectiveness specialist, and high school science teacher. Before her career transition into pre-K-12 education, Kelly was the director of basic sciences at the School for Allied Health while maintaining a practice as a chiropractic physician in Chicago. Kelly holds a Doctor of Chiropractic degree from National University of Health Science and an MAT in secondary education from National Louis University and a Bachelor's of Science in Biology from DePaul. Y'all give it up for Kelly. Dr. Kelly. Dr. Kelly. All right. Scott Tillman. There he is. Y'all say what's up, Scott.
What up, Scott?
Scott Tillman is currently a high school educator administrator with more than a decade of experience leading academic efforts, creating ideal learning environments, and developing individualized plans for student success centered on supporting students to and through college. He is a diversity, equity, and inclusion strategist, utilizing data to drive equitable outcomes, supporting college persistence related to underrepresented students. Adept at building and maintaining relationships with peers and students to sustain a cohesive, structured, and efficient learning institution that promotes positive, equitable outcomes. There are a lot of big words in these descriptions. Y'all think so? Is it just me?
Don't be scared.
I'm halfway educated. Outside of work, Scott is a researcher who is currently pursuing a PhD in technology and humanities. Scott's freedom dream is to connect urban K-12 schools with higher education institutions to formulate a relationship that benefits and supports access and persistence of underrepresented people. Y'all give it up for Scott. Okay. Then we have Mr. Brandon Pope. Say what up, Brandon. It's a lot of black excellence up here today, y'all.
Yes, yes, yes.
Brandon Pope is an education outreach coordinator at Argonne National Labs. Is that correct? Okay. Where he develops, coordinates, and facilitates outreach initiatives for students, schools, and science engineering professionals for Argonne educational programs and outreach. He shares Argonne's mission science with the community through activities reflecting the laboratory's values and grand scientific challenges. To make this possible, Brandon works closely with Argonne scientists and engineers, as well as with schools and students. Brandon is passionate about connecting inner city Chicago and underrepresented students to hands-on experiences that will help them realize their potential in STEM fields. Wanting to be a veterinarian as a child, Brandon attended Tuskegee University, HBCUs in the building, graduating with a Bachelor's of Science in Animal Science, and during his undergraduate studies, he interned at Cleveland's Metro Park Zoo, where the education bug hit him. He has worked for several world-class organizations, including the Missouri Department of Conservation, the John G. Shedd Aquarium, and the Adler Planetarium. Amazed at the rich span of Argonne's educational programming and the innovative research happening all over the lab, he is proud to be a member of the educational programs and outreach team. Liking to help promote education throughout Chicago, Brandon regularly volunteers at the Chicago History Museum. In addition, like he got more time, in addition, he is a member of Chicago Learning Exchange and Minorities in Agriculture and Natural Resources Related Sciences. In his free time, he enjoys running and cooking, especially smoking meats. I didn't even know you could smoke meats, but he smoked meats. Y'all give it up for Brandon, y'all. And last but not least, Miss Kelly Marie Shepard, Dr. Shepard. Now, I hope I'm saying this right. She founded Kesley Education LLC to promote STEM camps for children, workshops for teachers, and consulting for all. She earned her PhD in science education at IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology. At Loyola University, she earned a Bachelor of Science in Education in Elementary Education and a Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction. She served as a science mentor and instruction at Howard University and taught pre-service teachers at IIT and National Louis University. Dr. Kelly collaboratively coordinated the National Science Foundation, funded Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation, or LSAMP program, at IIT. LSAMP supported Black and Latino undergraduates in STEM majors through research opportunities, academic support, and networking to enhance their identities and sense of belonging in STEM. In 2022, Dr. Kelly was awarded a creative writing mentorship by the organization We Need Diverse Books. She savors time with her sons, enjoys Chicago house music, and reads lots of fiction. Dr. Kelly Shepard. Okay. So let's get into it. Let's start with each of you. Start on the far left. When did you fall in love with STEM?
I fell in love with STEM at my first science fair. I had the best board, and people came, just seeing people's reaction when they came to my board. And all I did that was different from everyone else is I had my mom drive around to all of the Baskin-Robbins that we could find to get dry ice. I read somewhere that if you had dry ice and put just a little bit of water on it, it would create smoke. And I said, I want that for my board. I don't even remember what I did my science fair project on, but because I had the dry ice and I added some pizzazz to my board and I saw the reaction from others, that's when I was hooked. I knew that it was an attention getter and that I thought differently from other people. That's
And what
when I
grade?
fell
What
in
grade
love.
were you at that time?
I was probably like third, fourth grade.
Third or fourth grade. Wow. Wow. Thank you.
Woo!
Scott, when did you fall in love with STEM?
So and disclaimer, my voice with the weather changing in Chicago it's been going in and out, so I'm gonna do my best. But I think I grew up with a love kind of hate relationship with STEM. So like I love math, I love science, and then I had a teacher who was new in high school who shifted my love for math, right? So And then later I kind of came back to it, learning how to code. Like I taught myself how to code as an adult, and just fell in love with seeing how the code would translate to these visuals. And that's it's been just me finding my way back into STEM as an adult. I would say currently my love for STEM really is fostered through seeing young people see their futures as they experience STEM opportunities. So I work in higher ed now, building programs, and seeing young people come in and out and having these like expanded versions of themselves through experience in STEM has kept me, I think my love has been reestablished that way. So
Thank you. Before we go, yeah. Thank you. Before we go to you, let me ask: are any of you young people in here interested in STEM? Raise your hand if you are. Okay, yeah. I think that's the reality, right? Like, nah, son. You know what I mean? Like, nothing about STEM seems interesting, right? And I was the same way when I was your age and younger. Like, math, science, it just did not resonate with me. So, as you talk about when you fell in love with STEM, can you also include what about STEM got your attention?
Sure. So, long story short, I grew up 130 Cottage Grove, not far from here.
From
right here,
man.
yeah.
We used to get-
And my church took us to Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore, a park half an hour from here, and we were on a hike, and I was 8 years old, so just kind of context. We were hiking down a path, looking in the woods, and like, man, it's a humongous dog. But it's not barking, it's looking at me. I'm like, that dog is huge. I'm like, Mr. Dykstra, what is that? He's like, Brandon, that's a deer. I'm like, what are you talking about? It was a female deer, though, a female deer, and I was like, wow, I like the animals, I like being in nature, and that was, for me, it wasn't science, but I liked that, and that kind of got me on the path to work with animals, and just, for me, it wasn't necessarily, now it's not science, not more about, I like talking to people, it's just science in every part of our lives. That's why I like science. It's like every aspect of our life is touched by STEM. So I like talking to people, so I can connect with anyone because we all have a connection with STEM. And I think we all found out that that path was unique for me, but it wasn't how I started, but it's how I finished. And I think that I started with that doe in the woods in Indiana.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And you said Mr. Dykstra.
Yeah.
That means you went to Roseland Christian.
Go Knights, class of 95.
Come on, baby.
That's crazy.
I know about them dunes over there with class of 85. We'll talk. Okay, yeah, we'll talk. Dr. Shepard, when did you fall in love and why? Like, what about STEM got you excited?
First of all, who wrote that question? I love that brown sugar reference.
Dr. Mahon.
When did I fall in love with STEM?
Yeah.
Well, it was back at Carver Middle School, and we were lined up, 7th graders, waiting to get into Miss Smith's science lab, which was the class that I looked forward to, only had it once a week. And when I walked in the door, Miss Smith had set up for 7th graders a lab that let us use fire. And I was like, what? Fire? It was a distillation experiment. The room smelled like fire and wood and tubes and everything that you can imagine science being. And it was just the texture, her trust. She trusted us little 12-year-olds to come up in here and turn on Bunsen burners. And she wasn't scared that we were going to burn down the lab. So after that, I fell in love with STEM, with that Black woman teacher who taught science, who I had never seen before. Mm-hmm. And then as a teacher, I fell in love even more when I taught math, and even more when I would do engineering process workshops. And I would have parents telling their kids, oh no, I know the challenge is for you to do X, Y, and Z, but you got to do it like this. And then I have to stop parents and say, okay, why? That wasn't the instruction. The instruction was for the student to reach a certain goal. However they get to it is the way they do. So it's the creativity that's built into STEM that made me fall in love.
That's dope. That's dope. No, you keep that because you're going to be passing it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And let's go ahead, and since you have the mic. So why are you, all of you, so passionate about coming to neighborhoods like this to encourage young people to get involved in STEM? Like, what's the deal?
Sky, how long you want me to be here? Because I can talk about that all day.
Like why should we care? Like, why should we care?
Well, first of all, going back to Miss Smith, like I grew up in Altgale Gardens. I went to Carver Middle School. Nobody cared about us Black kids learning science. So I have to give back because I know I am there. I know that there are other children who would be turned on to science because I trust them, because I want them to be creative, and because I want them to use their own talents instead of me dictating what they should do. So I have to come back. I have to come back because this is my home. I don't want to leave my home.
Yeah.
I love my home. Yeah. And I love the people here.
I want to hear from everybody. Thank you for that. Anybody from the Alligator Gardens out here? Anybody understand?
The Alligator Gardens, now come on.
Concordia, so you familiar?
Oh, yeah.
3130 Alligator Gardens. That's what we used to call it, right? Yeah. Why? Why so important? What is it?
I think because I kind of alluded to this earlier, STEM isn't everything. And it's interesting when you ask the kids, do you want to be in STEM? I don't know. So one thing about our guy, we have about 4,000 employees, half of them are research, other half of them are operations. And I think the reason why some of our kids are like, I don't know about STEM, because we think about STEM very narrowly. There are many jobs in STEM that exist. For example, that picture to your left, that's art. We have at the art, we have something like that at the lab. It's not drawn by preachers, it's drawn by artists. So if you like art, that is STEM. If someone needs to communicate the story of science, that's STEM journalism. And so there are a lot of opportunities for all of us, respectively, you all, to be in part of STEM because it touches every aspect of life. If you want to be in sales, someone has to sell STEM. Someone has to educate STEM. So I think it's a lot of ways that you can bring your talents and your passion to STEM and find very fulfilling and fruitful careers that can serve you and others. So I think that's what's been for me in my career, is finding a way, something I enjoy doing, and finding STEM as a way to do it. And I think you all will think about a lot of ways in STEM that can really help you help others through STEM.
All right, let's go to Scott, because I want to hear your perspective on this. You and I were talking pregame about some of this work. I'm really interested to why you're so concerned about coming in neighborhoods like Roseland, whether it's the West Side, West Lawndale, or whatever the case may be, Austin, Inglewood. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you care?
It's some of the same things that have been said. STEM isn't everything. And just, I think as I've gotten older, I realize that's so true for me. Like, you can't escape mathematics. You can't escape science. It's like literally, and either you are aware of the intersections and able to navigate it, or you are there's people who are designing without you being a part of it. So I label myself a futurist.
Yeah.
Meaning I see Black people, I see people of color in the future, and we think about all these systemic things that exist that impact us currently and that have impacted us historically. And as a futurist, I have to use my radical imagination to think about, will these things be in existence in the future? So when I say these things, like health disparities, food deserts, just to name a few, water and environmental injustice, right? So there has to be this kind of like thought of like, maybe those things will be disrupted and dismantled. And the only way in which they will is if Black and brown students are empowered and see themselves as co-designers in that future using STEM. So it's imperative, it's important that we're teaching STEM to young people and making it not something that's exclusive. Like, I feel like there's a lot of STEM programs that exist, right? It's become this buzzword, but really it still is exclusive, right? Like, we've kind of defined, there's a lot of spaces that define what a scientist looks like. It's a person who has crazy hair, who's a white male, nerdy, in a lab, right? So even that, like, dismantling where science or STEM takes place, it doesn't have to live in a lab. It can live in our neighborhoods. It can live in our homes. It happens in our home, right? Like, when we're cooking, that's STEM, So just really demystifying it and making it accessible to young people and making it something that is connected to their radical imagination so that they can see how they can use it and with dismantling the things that currently are impacting us. So
Hey, Kelly, you have a big job. You're with the third largest school district in the nation, Chicago Public Schools. Kids are getting killed, right? Kids want to get to money, right? They're not really connected to what us Gen Xers are talking about, right? Math scores are low, reading scores are low. And then you come talking about STEM initiatives. Where's the gap and why does it exist?
See, I was ready for the other
I
question.
know. But we got a CPS head here, man. We got to talk to her. We got to talk to her.
I was about to introduce y'all to somebody. So let me
Go ahead.
I
and
can
go ahead.
answer
Yeah,
that question, but let me lead off from the previous
Okay.
question. So I want to introduce y'all to this image on my shirt. And the two ladies that work for the Department of STEM that are here know who this is. And my why is, if you guys wouldn't mind saying, my why is for justice.
What do you mean?
I was
Please.
introduced to the concept of STEM is social justice about midway through my career in Chicago Public Schools. And I learned that in order to change the nation, we must aim for social justice through STEM education. We know when you talked about money, 2/3 of the US economy is controlled by STEM workers. 1/3 of those jobs are STEM jobs, the jobs we think of in IT and healthcare. The other third of those jobs are jobs in other industries that require application of STEM skills. Two-thirds of the American economy are controlled by STEM jobs. So if you want control of the money in this country, STEM is where you go. And when things don't make sense, we have this saying in my house, we'll talk about some of the issues going on in the world. And we're like, it just doesn't make any sense. And then we say, follow the money. And then things start to make sense. The challenges that exist today aren't being solved because there's no money in solving these problems. We have entire systems set up to continue to perpetuate the challenges we face in this country. So the only way to really break those systems is for us to be the ones coming up with the innovations. Nobody else is going to do it. So the gaps exist because everything is set up in a way to continue to follow the money how it currently is. So until we come in, and we create the innovations, we create the changes in the systems to solve the problems that impact our communities, not much is going to change. So that's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
That's why the gaps exist.
So thank you, Carmen. Y'all give it up for Kelly. Yeah. If I may, and Carmen knew who she was picking to do this job, to moderate. So if I may keep it a buck, some of these kids, I could tell it's just still over their head. They ain't feeling it. I'm interested to know the truth of what's the disconnect between where you are and what's happening in STEM. Now, I'll tell you, you might remember On TV. Y'all remember On TV? Who remembers On TV? Okay, thank you, Miss Laura Bailey. So, my father used to make the cable boxes. We would go to the radio store, the Radio Shack, and get the capacitors. On TV was the first cable. You had to get the cable box, and they were expensive. My father used to make cable boxes and sell them in the neighborhood. That was my first experience with STEM. Getting HBO for free. okay? Building train sets, airplane sets. And then I realized somebody said, science and technology, engineering and math is everything. And I'm wondering from you all in the audience, what's the disconnect where you don't see yourself in STEM, or do you see yourself in STEM? Anybody want to answer that question for me? Yes, sir. Come on up. Or you don't have to come up. Just take the mic. Talk to us.
So, I found myself being in STEM for quite a while due to the fact that I've kind of been in the science and technology industry since I was like a little kid. I used to grow up building and designing things using Legos and all that, and then trying to make circuitry for all of it to work and power on. And then most recently, I've been getting into automotive technologies too, is technologically advanced these days. So we need more people in that kind of area learning how to understand all of that too. So that's part of the reason why I'm getting into it.
Thank you. What's your name?
Ash.
Ash. I'm gonna come back to the panel. But I got nephews out here in these streets who like to keep a pole on them. And I'll tell y'all, that's STEM too. What y'all doing? Well, not y'all, none of y'all, but your friends and them. That's STEM too. And there's money to be made in it. And I think that it's important for us to be here to have this conversation so you can really know how to follow the money, one, and to live a long life. And you really got to tap into the science of it all, the technology of it all, the engineering behind it, and the mathematics of it all, right? So let's get back to the question about the disconnect between our generation and what's happening with AI, artificial intelligence, which is not human intelligence, technology, and poverty. What do you have to say about that?
I want to say two words: identity and sense of belonging. Your identity is the characteristics in you that makes you feel like you are a certain person. For example, Ash talked about doing work with circuitry, identifying as someone who is creative and who's able to use electricity and build with Legos and to design. So I've done research. I'm a researcher. Those are two barriers for us to fill that gap, because a lot of times our young people don't identify even as students academically. And why? Because maybe school is structured in a way that the focus is on the things that you don't know, the things that you haven't learned, and the things that you've done wrong, which as a career educator, I get that, because if I know what my students have done wrong, I can help them correct it. But the problem is we are perpetuating a narrative to our young people that they don't already have characteristics of STEM. This young man is creative. STEM is creativity. But the link between creativity and STEM has not been established. Like Brandon talked about that poster being created by an artist, a visual artist. That is not considered a STEM characteristic. So first of all, we have to encourage our young people to examine their own identities. Do they identify as an academic person? What are the characteristics of an academic person? Does that mean learning comes easy to you? The answer is no. The process of learning is going to have difficulty. When you're trying to learn something you don't know, difficulty is normal. So don't base your identity as an academic on the difficulty. That's the learning process. That's separate from the individual. And then a sense of belonging. Are our institutions creating spaces where we feel like we belong, and are those spaces sustainable? And I'm gonna pass the mic.
Everything you said, I'll add on to that. I think a lot of times students, if they know someone works in STEM, they know the end goal. They don't understand the journey from where you are as a young person to where they are. They think it's insurmountable. You think, oh my God, guy has a job. Yeah, but that person was 16 once. That person flunked a class. That person pivoted. I think sometimes we don't show that STEM is done by professionals who are humans, who are people, who are at one time didn't know what they want to do. I think a lot of young people think that folks in STEM were always smart. They were always knew what they wanted to do when they were just like you all. So I think it was something maybe we do it, and who knows professionals, we need to humanize them. So yes, this person, they may have a master's, a bachelor's, PhD, an associate, whatever it is, but at some point in their life, they probably flunked a chemistry class, or they did well, but that's okay. That's their journey, and it's a journey. It's not a pipeline. I don't like the word pipeline. Can mean just straight. Nothing in life is linear. It's always, you take a class, you pass it, you flunk it, you get dumped by your girlfriend. All that stuff makes you the person who you are and who you want to come to be. So I think it's just that the disconnect is a lot of our students just if they see someone in STEM, they don't understand how to get from where they are as a young person to that goal. And I think that journey is important. Understand that if it's okay to pivot. I think we learned in 2020 how to pivot, and I think and that's a skill that we need to teach our kids. It's okay to if this is a struggle, either work hard at it or pivot. But it's okay to make different choices. But I think they don't get the journey between where they are and where they want to be. And I think that is often where they get frustrated and kind of, all right, I give up. And so I think that's what we can do as show them that, yes, I'm here now, but I was 17, I went to Corliss. When I was 17, I didn't know I'd be working at Argonne, but life dealt with it does. And I'm happy to be where I am right now because of the journey I experienced, things I did, the choices I made, good, bad, or other. All that is valid and part of my journey. Your journey is important. So that journey, I think, is important to them to understand and really appreciate, because that's as valuable as where you're going.
You want to add?
You have a question?
Yeah, I had a question
Well, hold on.
like with you being like smart, like how was it in school? Like, cause I know people that's smart in school, people just like see them as geeks, not seeing them as like people. They just see them as people who just know it all, or people who just smart. They don't see them as like they go through struggles too. Like they just know it all. They got it all down packed.
Let me first. February 1st, first day of Black History Month, I spoke at my alma mater, high school, Morgan Park. I was the keynote speaker for the Black History celebration, right? But when I graduated high school, I had a 2.1 GPA. I got a 16 on the ACT and was the class clown. But today I own several businesses. So intelligence is relative, brother. See, I was a fool in school, but I always knew how to read and write and could speak well. But that didn't translate to the books. So let me be the first to say, talk to somebody smart, it ain't always what you think it is. I'm gonna let somebody else pick up from there. You got Scott?
Yeah, I think it's really important that like joy is a part of STEM. I think that specifically like the maker culture, the creativity, the exposing students to like how STEM can be fun as opposed to the rigidity that sometimes it is connected to, and like also connecting them to, so it's hard to be what you can't see. So creating more opportunities for youth in every level, not just high school, not just the kindergartners, but like at every level, at every stage, consistently to see Black and brown folks that look like them in STEM, whether it is going through the archives and like just focusing on inventors, Black inventors and mathematicians and things of that nature. Benjamin Banneker, like I was recently reading about him, and I remember reading about him when I was a kid, but reading about him as an adult, I'm just like, I feel like we need to be making sure our kids have that legacy of Black folks, brown folks who've been in STEM, and creating opportunities for them to just connect the dots. So that's my 2 cents. I think it's important that they're seeing consistently, and then that familiarity happens when they're doing along with seeing. So
Kelly, can you speak about this idea of smartness?
Sure thing. So there are, in my experience, a couple different types of smart people in this world. There are people who just know a lot of things. And I'm always so impressed by those people. It's like, how do you have the mental capacity to just know things and absorb information? And then the other type of smart I've run into are people who figure out how to do what they need to do in a really efficient way, and it gives the appearance that they know things, but they just sort of figure out how to get things done. I fall into that second category. I don't necessarily consider myself, even though I have like 5 degrees, I don't consider myself somebody who knows a lot. I looked at the syllabus. I said, this is what they tell me I need to do. This is all I'm gonna do. They said 350 words. I'm going to write 351 words. So there are some folks who choose to go above and beyond. God bless them. But I did well in school, not because I knew more than the person next to me. I figured out exactly what the expectation was and did that thing. So I'm a STEM minded person, a systems thinker, a linear thinker. Like I try to break things down into the smallest component part, and that's what I get done. And in terms of not like, how do I maintain my identity in that? It took me a minute, to be very honest with you. Especially as a Black woman going into STEM, I thought I had to be a certain way, especially in the spaces I often found myself. But it really wasn't until adulthood where I figured out all I have to do is be me, always, like, period. I'm going to be me at work. I'm going to be me at home. I'm going to be me with my children. I'm going to be me with my parents. So I carry that systems thinking throughout all of those spaces. But once I was confident in who I was, I found that I wasn't attached to that smart or good student label. I was just me. So I think to answer your question, is just having a strong identity of self. And if instead of carrying that label of smart, because smart is relative.
Kelly, can I stick with you for a second? Is it okay to be your authentic self today in the job environment? Can young Black people really be authentically themselves? Because I'll tell you this, it seems like they can barely be their authentic selves in the classroom.
That's a loaded question.
I'm bringing the heat, y'all. Y'all don't realize, but I'm advocating for y'all. I really am. I'm bringing the heat.
It depends.
Because you said, hey, you can be yourself, but can we really?
It depends if you're in a situation where people can appreciate that.
Which means we probably need to create our own spaces.
Yes.
Which is why the STEM education is so important in our communities.
Yes.
Because we're good at remixing stuff. We're good at tearing stuff apart and putting it back the way we think it should be, which is what makes it fly. Which is why it's important that we create these spaces like here at Failings Family Services.
For us, by us.
For us, by us.
Yes.
Okay. And I do want to dig in. I'm interested to hear from the brothers about being I see your hair, right? We just saw I don't know if you all saw the story in Texas. Oh, yeah. They making this guy cut his hair off. He lost his case against the judge because he got dreads in school. He's a high school student. And it got in Texas, right? Can you be are you comfortable being your authentic self in, I don't know, corporate sounds like it's such an old school term, but in the world of work?
So yes, to answer that question, I am comfortable being myself. I think it takes a lot of work. I think it has to, And it's unfortunate me saying that, right? Like it takes work when other people get to show up in spaces and that were designed for them to show up in those spaces. They were designed for them, right? So I think for me, my journey has been deconstructing and throwing away a lot of different, like, you know, you try on a lot of hats as you're growing up and you're like, well, maybe if I talk a certain way or dress a certain way. And then after a while, you're just like, this is not a way to live. That feels free. So for me, I think everything that I'm doing now, I'll be transparent. I'm 34. I think a lot of my life now is about liberation, and like I can't be in spaces or I don't choose to intentionally go into spaces where I can't be free or be myself. So I think transferring that down to youth and connecting it to STEM. And it was said, I think we need to continue being our own. We are innovative people, our ancestors. Like we're literally here because they have dreamed and they have, I just think it's important that we are reminded that who we are is beautiful and we can't show up in those spaces. And if we don't choose to create your own space, like you can create your own space. And yeah. So.
And thank you for that, Scott. Thank you for that. Brandon, would you say that the more educated you are, the easier it is to be your authentic self?
More educated.
And I mean it educated, not necessarily in the term of the number of degrees, but in your ability to think critically and read well.
I think just with age, that becomes, you know, you're able to interact with different people better and be able to move in different spaces better. I think one thing we talking about identity, I went to HBCU and I was at Tuskegee. It was Black faculty, Black classmates. I knew 1,000 guys who were engineering majors, a bunch of people who were science majors. So those 4.5 years of a school really solidified who I am. And so when I got into these spaces when it was just me, I was like, okay, well, you know what? This is where it is. And I think the education formal was important, but just socializing at Tuskegee, I'm pointing at her. Yeah. And it really helped me to define who I am as a person. And so wherever I go, I know how, you know, it's a book by Ralph Ellison, Tuskegee, Double Consciousness, to my Invisible Man. You all should read the book. And it's something that we all have a double consciousness. Some people, I mean, it's just the Brandon you're talking to right now, might not be the same Brandon I was at work yesterday, but it's all Brandon. And we all have the side we choose to show to the world because that's who we need to be in that particular space. With my mother, I'm her son, but with my friends, I'm B. And I'm here, I'm Brandon. And I think learning how to navigate these spaces comes with experience, with different jobs, some good, some, you know, maybe you have to leave, like you said. And I think that just comes with age. But for me, I think just having that foundation, I'm not plugging HBCUs, but I guess I am. But it really helped to solidify who Brandon was. So wherever I went, be it in the Black space or in a space where it's just me and Tyrone the custodian, I'm the brother in the building, I was able to flourish there and find validating work and bring part of myself that I want to share with them, which I think is important.
Yeah. And I attended Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It took me 6 years to get that degree because one year I had to sit out because we just didn't have the money to pay for it anymore. So that's what it was, right? Talk about programs that you might recommend, initiatives for young people to get involved in today that might up their STEM IQ or interest in the STEM fields.
Before I get deep into naming programs, I want to talk about this identity piece. Because to me, the program is not a good fit in and of itself. It's what you bring to the program. So there are lots of programs. I mean, we're sitting here at Phalanx. We have Chicago Public Schools, and they offer a variety of programs, the Museum of Science and Industry. My own sons were science, I think it was called Science Majors, Science Mentors, Science something, where they would go to the museum on Saturdays. They would get their not community service. What's the name of the hours that you need to graduate from high school? Is it community service learning hours? They got their service learning hours. They learned all of this behind the scenes stuff. There are lots of programs out here because you are in Chicago and there are a lot of things to offer. But the biggest question is, who are you? And you are not a monolith. Whoever you are isn't the same in all situations. And that doesn't mean you're fake. That means that you are a whole, complex human. So when we talk about being smart, I guarantee you there are things you are smart at. And I also guarantee you, as I sit here in a room full of Black and brown faces, the things that we are smart at are not going to appear on that standardized test. So we have to know that. There is a gentleman at UIC, Dr. Danny Martin. When I was doing my PhD and I started my dissertation, I was in a whole hissy fit because I wanted to do research around Black children and how they learn science. And my advisor told me, there's not enough research on Black children who learn science. Now, my advisor was white and she didn't read Black research. So I reached out to Dr. Martin. He did not know me from a can of paint, but I was distraught and I was desperate. And that man sat and talked to me and he told me how to navigate my PhD in a way that I could authentically be Kelly Shepard and serve Black children and understand our learning and do the research that I wanted to do without compromising myself. So what are the programs? AI is here, y'all. Y'all know how to use ChatGPT and all that. Drop in there whatever you're interested in. You know, we have After School Matters. There's music. There is art. All of these things are connected to STEM. But the biggest question and the most important thing that you can ever do is, number one, understand that you are a complex person. Understand that when you walk into your school, if you want to be considered smart, I was a teacher for a long time. I'm going to tell y'all what smart is. Smart is giving the teacher what she or he wants in the way that he or she wants it. I'm going to be real with you. Smart is time. How long does it take you to do something? We think that smart people take a short time. And if I ain't so smart, it's hard, and hard takes a longer time. What does that even matter? What does that even matter? Community, get with people. Study with people. Don't do it by yourself. Teamwork make the dream work. We're out here thinking that we got to do all this work by ourselves, and we don't. It's easier when we do it in community. So find yourself first, and then find the program. And bring a piece of yourself, because no program is going to let you be your whole self. You don't even want to be your whole self in all situations. I mean, let's keep it a buck, as you say. So, and that's okay. That doesn't make you fake. That doesn't make you fake. If your doctor showed up in her bikini, you would think that this person ain't about to, operate on me. She crazy. But she probably goes to the beach or to a swimming pool in a bikini. So she's not fake if she shows up a certain way at her doctor's office versus the beach. It's just appropriate for the place.
That's big.
And, contact me at Kesley if you need me to show you how to navigate these education streets.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of opportunities here in Chicago. And I would just add to that, good thing about these opportunities, you meet people who are like-minded. You may be the only person in your school who likes science. And if that's reality, that's reality. But you go to a program at the Field Museum or Lincoln Park Zoo or Argonne National Laboratory, you meet other teens who like science, and that's encouraging. Wow, this person is from this person is in the neighborhood, and they like what I like. I think all of us have a tribe that like what we do. They have supported us when we were younger. And if you don't have that at home, I understand. If you're at school, but you can go to these places where other teens who like science, who like art, who like animals. And wow, I met someone who lives in Lincoln Park. I live in Roseland, but we both like science. Now we're friends. That quick. And so it's just everything you said, that's why that, but it's so many resources here in Chicago. So definitely take advantage of them. They're on Instagram, they're on TikTok. All these museums, Lincoln Park Zoo, Field, they all have youth programs, teen programs. Some will pay you as jobs. So and Phalanx as well. Phalanx programs in your community for you that can provide services beyond just money, experiences, people who will help support you when you don't need any support at school. So it's a lot of things for you in Chicago. You just have to really take one step to take 3 towards you. I think it was a good thing.
Let's switch it up a little bit. Unless you
I
was thinking about it. Kelly, you thinking about yours too already? You
I was just gonna say the schools.
okay? All right, go ahead.
So I work in higher ed. I work at Illinois Tech, and I oversee pre-college programs. So I'll plug my programs as an opportunity. So we have summer programs, and we have 30 summer programs that are proposed for this upcoming summer. Anything you can think of, from if you're into rapid prototyping, or what that means, if you're into biology or biomedical engineering, or different types of engineering. Then I would say just Google. I would say first start with Google, and Google STEM programs and for high school students, and you free. Our programs have scholarships, so if cost is an issue, they're free. I'll plug that for students from Chicago. And then there's dual enrollment opportunities. If you're interested in information technology, if you're interested in cybersecurity, you can take classes while you're in high school to pique that curiosity. You can also do it with City College, Chicago City Colleges, or you can do it at Illinois Tech, and they're free. We have apprenticeship opportunities in partnership with After School Matters. So I'm seeing a student here who's actually participated in a program of mine, but we have cybersecurity, engineering, all the things. So STEM, again, there's so much. There's a lot of things that are being built because, again, STEM is the future. There's going to be so many jobs, and currently are so many jobs available in STEM fields. So it's important that the programs exist to make sure that we're supporting students in that. So
super dope. Well, we are wrapping up, coming to the end. I just want to shout out real quick our sponsors again: the Department of STEM at Chicago Public Schools, Citywide STEM Initiatives, Genius Lab Incorporated, Planet AI, and Soundtrap. I want you all to think about your parting words here. There's STEM in music. I have my own music streaming platform. If you go to record, that's STEM. Sound is STEM. There's STEM in sports. There's STEM in fashion. You're doing measurements and shapes, right? But there's also STEM in these devices. The algo. Y'all know what I'm talking about? The algorithm. It is like sugar because it has us addicted. I think it's important that we stay curious. Always ask, how does this work? And be interested in how it works. And if you keep that open mind, you'll always be a STEM engineer. Whether you're mixing your own brands of cereal to concoct your own mixture of cereal or pancakes or whatever it may be. I think we're more into STEM than we realize. Parting words to encourage this audience to be more engaged in the STEM around them. What do you have to say? Whoever wants to go first.
I'll start. So you can, to that point of STEM is in everything, you're either going to be a consumer or a producer. So ask those questions again of how I could be a producer of this STEM, of these things that people use every day, and help to co-create things for yourself, for your community. And then I would also, and just to get on a theoretical standpoint, our bodies are technology. So our ancestors, so technology is essentially a mechanism that produces, right? So our bodies are producing all the time, whether it's in other people's industries or whether we are using our bodies to produce in a way that impacts other people. So keeping that mindset of I am technology because of that concept or that definition. And my ancestors have been historically, you have a legacy of technology. So you are in fact in STEM. So
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
To get our youth motivated to perhaps get interested in STEM, Google STEM jobs that don't require a degree. Most of the STEM jobs don't require a degree, and look at the salary. So if money is something that motivates you, I'd say start there. But if you really just enjoy digging into the how does this work? How can I make this better? If that is something that interests you and that is a passion for you, then you can follow something that you enjoy. There's just limitless opportunities in any industry. And there's so much civic satisfaction you can get by following a STEM career and just making things better for those around you, for solving problems that impact you and your family members and your friends' lives. So whether you're money driven, knowledge driven, community service driven, STEM is still for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And one last thing, sometimes you just have to insert yourself. Not everybody yet believes you belong. Not yet. And every now and then you just have to insert yourself in spaces, show up anyway, and move forward regardless of what others think.
Word. You all get your questions ready. We may have time for a few questions.
So I guess I'm Chicago of a certain age. I worked at Marshall Fields. You don't know, on State Street when I was in college, and my manager gave me some of the best advice I've received about it. Just like you said, Brandon, never turn down an opportunity to learn something new. And so you have so many things in Chicago that you can try. You're young. You can try stuff for failing. Try things at school. Try them in museums. If you like them, phenomenal, great. If you don't like them, phenomenal, great. Because now you know what you do or don't want to do. So I guess just if there's after school club that sounds cool, try it out. There's a weekend program at some museum or some park. Try. You have nothing to lose. If you can do it, just try. Most of them are free or will pay you. So I guess just don't look at something and say, I don't like it. If you don't like it and you don't know anything about it, try it anyway. Because I found a lot of things that I've been good at came from me just trying something new. I know I like running. I know my smoking meat, but I like eating. And I like running. So that's where it came from, because I tried something new. And it's been beneficial for me. I follow those birds since, I guess, 20 years now. And it's definitely going to be wrong. So, just try something new. You have a lot of things here at Phalanx, but also other museums around the city that have a lot of great things inside your school. Also, a Park District Library. You have so many resources here to try new things in STEM or otherwise. But obviously, we're talking about STEM. So just definitely try. I think you'll see how STEM touches every area of life that you never even thought about. So just definitely try. Always try new things.
All
right. My parting word will be to use the technology at your fingertips. Like Kelly said, Google these STEM jobs, see what the salaries are. Go to YouTube, find something that you have been curious about and look up a video and see how it is done. But what I do want to say is STEM does not mean that you have to have a degree in science, technology, engineering, and math. That is not what STEM is. It includes those things, but it's not exclusively those things. So find yourself, understand that your life is a journey. You are going to change. Your opportunities are going to change. Your circumstances are going to change. Take advantage of things like Brandon was saying, try things that are new. And just get out there. You all, we live in a wonderful city. There's so much up here to do in the Chi. Get out here and do it. Do the free stuff. Go to the beach. Go to the lake. Look at the flowers and the trees. And you know what I'm saying? Just live. Live and learn and grow and be open and try.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Hey, audience, you young people, what's the most expensive thing on your body right now? Michael Kors pants. Anybody else? Your shoes? Your coat? Word. It's actually your brain. It's the first supercomputer. Remember, artificial intelligence is fake intelligence. And I implore these folks to invest more in human intelligence, because it takes the human intelligence to power the AI, artificial intelligence. So remember that. Nothing is more important than your brain. And if you leave it unnurtured, it will go to waste. Any questions from the audience tonight?
I feel the power of STEM power. So when I say I am, I need y'all to say STEM power. I am
STEM power.
I am
STEM power.
I got louder, so I can't be louder than y'all. I am
STEM power.
I felt that.
Thank y'all for coming out. Thank y'all for coming out.
Yes.
Do STEM podcast. All right. Thank y'all. Y'all give it up for the panelists. All right.
Thank you, Failings Family Services, for hosting us. We appreciate y'all. I just want to remind you all, follow us on Do STEM. Follow us on Do STEM.
There we go.
Follow us on CPS STEM. I said Do STEM, but Do STEM is the Department of STEM. So when you all are talking about programs, we'll link it in just so y'all know. So y'all have access. Get to know these people. Grab their card. That's the first piece of just getting information is networking. It's a power panel up here. And just don't. A closed mouth does not get fed. So just make sure that you reach out because we're here for you. Got it? All right. Thank you all. Grab pizza, have conversation. We're going to wrap it up, and we appreciate y'all.
You don't miss no mic.
Oh, what's your name?